Hey guys, how y'all doing this afternoon or this evening, I guess I should say. So I wanted to hold on, sorry, I'm getting some feedback here. There we go. Audio sound okay? Yeah, I'm getting some kind of feedback, but it's the way I have my mixing board set up, so it's kind of screwy. So I wanted to come on here and kind of talk about this this video that I uploaded today. If you guys haven't seen it already, it's on an exhaust fan system that that I should say the service call was a complaint of a funny smell in the restaurant and a negative air pressure problem. And I found a massive negative air pressure problem, like I showed you guys in the video. And I got a lot of cool questions about it and very interesting questions. So I wanted to kind of come on here and start off this live stream talking about that and answering some of the questions. That way we could clarify some of the issues that we had with this. So the biggest thing I want to start off with is I am not a certified air balance technician. Okay. I want to make that clear. Okay. So I am not the end all be all when it comes to an air balance. Okay. I know enough just to get myself into trouble, and I know what I need to do to fix this situation because I know what's going on here. Okay. I didn't engineer this system. Is it right what I have to do here? No, it's absolutely not right. And I really don't like the way this restaurant is set up. I really think that every restaurant should have a dedicated makeup air unit. And it's just, that's the way I feel that they should be. Okay. But what's happening, I'm starting to notice a trend in the restaurants, and I imagine it's about energy savings and money savings and all this, weird political stuff. But it's just cheaper for them to build these restaurants, without a makeup air unit. It's one less item they have to install. Now, I will say that I know that the restaurants that I have done this particular bypass to, the air conditioning systems still work. Okay. Even in the middle of the summer, and some of them get 100-degree ambience outside. And even in the middle of the summer, the air conditioning systems still work fine. Okay. Still maintains the kitchens at 76 degrees, which is, as cool as you're going to get a kitchen typically. So, so to start off, the way that the problem that I ran into, like I showed you guys in the video, was a massive negative air pressure. Okay. So, and what it was actually doing was it was pulling the sewage smell, whether it be from a cracked sewer line, from a dried out P-trap. I have no idea where the smell came from, but it was pulling the smell into the restaurant. Okay. I also informed them, once I temporarily fixed the issue, that they should really have a plumber figure out why that smell was coming in the building, because I don't think that the negative air pressure was enough to pull the water out of a P-trap. But who knows? I don't know those scientific calculations to find out if that's what the problem was. So I'm going to answer a couple questions real quick so that way I don't get lost in here. Alex Lopez, you asked, how long did it take for me to get comfortable with commercial and refrigeration? It's taken a long time. I have been in the trade since 2001. So what is that? I don't know. I can't do the math right now. 18 years? 17 years? I think it's 17 years. Yeah. Probably just made an idiot out of myself with that math, but yeah. So I've been in the trade for 17 years officially, but I grew up in this trade. I'm co-owners of this company with my dad. Okay. And I've been doing this since I was a little kid. So, it's hard to say exactly how long it's going to take someone to get comfortable with refrigeration. The biggest tip I can give anybody is just slow down, listen, and keep your mouth shut. Don't get cocky. Just listen to whoever's teaching you. And when I say keep your mouth shut, it's appropriate to ask questions at the right times, but don't ask snarky questions. And just, you'll get there. It'll take some time, but I read a lot of books. I've kind of said it in past live streams that I was taught wrong I shouldn't say wrong. I was taught old school methods, and those just didn't make sense to me. When I asked, why does this do that? And I was told just because it does, that kind of frustrated me. So I had to dig to find out the answers to these questions. And I've said it before too, I believe in a podcast, but one time I called tech support, and the tech support guy asked me what the superheat was, and I asked him what superheat was because I didn't know what it was, and he hung up on me. So that was a humbling moment. I can remember that one and how awkward I felt, and I could promise you though that the next day I knew what superheat was, and I could answer that question for him when I called him back. I don't think I talked to the same guy, but I had to learn the hard way. So it's just really important to get comfortable. It's just going to take time. It's going to take time, and it's going to take familiarizing yourself with equipment. So, okay. So to get back to the topic about the video, so first off, I had a couple questions about, why can't I just adjust the belts on the exhaust fans? I think I mentioned it in the video, but I'll clarify this. This particular restaurant had a Maylink IntelliHood smart hood system. Okay. And starting from the exhaust hood, the canopy over the cooking equipment, the exhaust hood is not set up for a makeup air unit. Okay. It only has grease filters, and it has a very small amount of air coming into the hood that's recirculated from in the kitchen that just creates an air curtain. So I can't just add a makeup air unit to this hood. It was never designed for it. Okay. Now, on top of that, all the exhaust fans are direct driven VFD ran exhaust fans. So they're 3-phase inverter duty motors, and the motors speed up and slow down via the VFD drives, or the variable frequency drives. Okay. So there's no way to slow down those exhaust fans once you bypass those variable frequency drives, because to bypass them, I just basically took input power from the VFD and hardwired into output power to the exhaust fans. So those exhaust fans are running at 60 hertz now, full power going to them. So they're running full speed. So that's where our problem came from, was because all the exhaust fans have been bypassed. I don't know why it took them this long to figure out they had a balance problem, long story short, but so that's the way this restaurant's set up. It's not an ideal situation. Obviously I've addressed it, but they don't have a makeup air unit either. But what's important to understand is the hood system that was there was a great hood system. It's just that the customer feels that it's not cost effective for them to repair it anymore. Okay. So that's why they had me bypass, or at least that's their logic as to what they're thinking and why they had me bypass it. So, I realize in I use those crutch words a lot. I find myself saying so and a million times. I need to get over that and just talk. Sorry. With this hood system, like I said, I can't add a makeup air unit to it. Now, I could add makeup air into the back of the building, okay, which is something, that the customer may consider. But it's important to understand that when this hood system was running properly, the building was balanced with the hood system at low speed. It was never meant to run at high speed 24/7. High speed only happens on this hood system when it's working, whenever smoke interrupts the laser beam, or the optic sensor, you can call it, or when the temperature underneath the hood canopy rises to a certain threshold. Those two things, or there's an emergency 100% button on the control panel that you can push to that would speed them all up to 100%. But even when the system was operating, if you sped that system up to 100%, your building would be out of balance, and it would be negative, just like it is today. Okay, so the hood system is only meant to go into high speed whenever it really, really needed it. And that's where the efficiency came from that the company Maylink sold them on. And again, I'm gonna make it clear, I really like the hood system. I think it's a great system. It's just the customer chose not to fix it. Okay. So with that being said, that's where our dilemma came from. All right. I had to go out there. And on another note too, another thing is when the restaurant was designed, they only designed the kitchen AC with a full economizer. The dining room and the bar ACs only had fresh air dampers. So it wasn't a full-blown economizer. And that's why in the video, I also recommended, or what I actually recommended to the customer was that they let me install a full-blown economizer on those other two ACs. And if this makes sense to you guys, this way I don't have to operate the kitchen at 100% outside air anymore. Because if it has a full-blown economizer, I can throttle them down and it's going to throttle the building air coming back out also. So coming out of the return, I should say, because then it's just going to force the air through the filters into the supply. So I would be able to open, I'm just guessing, you know, the kitchen 30%, the dining room 30%, and the bar 30%. And then we evenly spread out the heat load across the whole building instead of making the kitchen suffer. So that's where that's what I wanted to do. And that's what I told the customer. They haven't approved anything yet. For now, they're just running the way that I left it. And they will. They're very good at doing these things. It just, they haven't gotten back to me yet on it. So couple more questions I want to address that we had with the sorry, I'm getting service calls on my phone as we're talking too. Looks like it's for tomorrow though, so it's not an emergency. I don't know if any of you guys ever have to deal with service channel. I'm getting service channel alerts on my phone for a restaurant. What is this one for? Oh, okay, that's the easy one. So couple of the other questions that I got was, what manometer was I using? Okay, I was using the Fieldpiece SD-MN6. Okay, this is the manometer. I mean, this is the manometer that has the pressure switch tester in it too. Now, I don't do a lot of heating work because I'm in Southern California. I really like this manometer, but I'm going to be honest with you, I've only used the pressure switch tester once or twice. But I think it's a really cool manometer if you guys haven't had one. And then also what I did, I lucked out in that I was able to take the static pressure tip and just hang it from the roof hatch, which is where I was getting my pressure reading. And the roof hatch had enough of a rubber seal around it that I could shut the hatch and it didn't pinch my my silicone tube, basically, you know. So the silicone tube was still able to go through there and the rubber just went around it. So that's how I was able to get my building pressure. So that's that on that one. I'm going to go into the comments right here and look at some of these questions and see if you guys have anything so far. So some of the other questions, you know, I was getting was, is the restaurant going to be, is the AC's efficiency going down the drain? And it is, because now they're pulling, you know, 100% outside air, at least through the kitchen. The one thing I will say is this wouldn't work around the country. This works here in Southern California because we don't have any humidity, and it's, well, even in the summertime, it would be fine, but we don't have humidity here, you know, we're running, you know, 25%, 30% on a normal day. So that's why if we had, you know, really, really high humidity, like you guys have in the Midwest or the South, this wouldn't work. You wouldn't be able to do this. Okay. And I imagine that restaurants and buildings don't use much outside air through the ACs in the Midwest or in the South. They probably use all conditioned makeup air unit would be you know, what I would think. And I would imagine you would use DX coils on them and it would temper the air, you know, so that's just something to think about. I realize I got that comment a lot too, was, you know, you couldn't do this because of that. Well, it's because we don't have humidity here. So, sorry, I'm just looking at the comments here. Chris E has asked me if I've ever come across a challenge. I'm imagining you mean just at work. Oh yeah. You know, the interesting thing is I've told you guys that I'm one of the owners here. So I take all the difficult calls. And that's something that's going to happen even if you're not an owner. When you become a senior mechanic, you're going to start getting headaches. You know, you're going to run into those problems. That's what's going to come. Even as a, you know, a mid-level mechanic, if you're not going home with headaches, either your job's too easy or you're not doing something right, because you've kind of got to really think about your job. And unless you're getting the super easiest calls in the world. Okay. So I run into challenges all the time. I get stumped. Okay. I don't know everything. I still to this day will call tech support to ask them questions. You know, I mean, nobody's perfect. Okay. I don't know everything and neither does anybody else. There's people that are good at a lot of things, you know. I consider myself to be in like a little niche, and I consider myself to be good at what I do, but there's always still challenges. There's always new stuff that I'm going to run into, new problems that I'm going to run into. So, I'm going to kind of scroll up to the top of the comments here and see if there's anything that I'm missing. I'm trying to answer more of you guys' questions because I want to make this as interactive as possible, guys. So, maybe on some of the, I'm not really set up for it right now, but maybe on some of the next live streams, we can, if you guys have a microphone and a camera on your computer, maybe I can bring you guys into the Hangout and you guys can talk. We can do it a few times. So, Isaiah, you asked what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about the video that I uploaded about negative air pressure on the building. So it just dropped this morning, and we're just kind of going over the issues that I ran into with that. Okay. If you guys haven't watched the video, I suggest you guys do so. I think it was pretty cool. It was a pretty interesting one. So, yeah, you need to watch it. Critical Think. I'm just kind of going down through here real quick. Eric Deeds, you said negative air pressure is scary. Yeah, it is. If you guys scroll back on my channel, I had another video where I think it says carbon monoxide something or other. And the building was so negative, it was pulling the carbon monoxide or the flue gases from the flue pipe out of the water heater and basically filling up the back of the restaurant with carbon monoxide. So that was another scary one. Where, then that problem on that particular call was that the outside air damper actuator had failed on 2 ACs. And so and it was the same thing where they didn't have a makeup air, or they had a very small makeup air unit, but they were pulling most of the makeup air through the ACs. So when the AC actuators failed for the outside air dampers, this is on my other video. They went into an extremely negative air pressure situation and they pulled the flue gases out of the water heater. I'm surprised too, because the gas company came out and told them that they needed to call the HVAC guy, and he didn't shut them down. But I'm telling you, if you guys watch the video, when I walked in the back door, my carbon monoxide meter that I had on me pegged. So they should have been red tagged and shut down, and they weren't. All that the gas company did was they went in there and told them, you need to leave your roof hatch open until the HVAC guy gets here. So he basically alleviated the negative air pressure problem by opening the roof hatch, and that solved it. But it still blew me away. I was still reading carbon monoxide when I walked in the door, even with the roof hatch open. So yeah, negative air pressure can be scary, especially with these restaurants being as tight as they are these days. There's not a lot of infiltrating air coming in, and they're going lowest budget on the installs. So running without makeup air units and different things like that, you can run into some serious problems with negative air pressures. So luckily, this one that I just uploaded today was just a sewage smell, and it wasn't a carbon monoxide or something like that. I tend to notice too that a lot of the new restaurants are putting their mechanical rooms outside, so so that way they lose more of the potential of carbon monoxide. But I mean, I guess you still have issues with your cooking appliances and stuff. But all right, so I'm just kind of going through the comments here, seeing what else I'm seeing. No, I didn't have to drill a hole, Brian Octella. Like I mentioned, I don't know if you heard me, I was able to close the roof hatch, and there was enough of a rubber seal on the silicone hose that it was able to go down through and still give me a pressure reading. So I was kind of worried about that. Okay, so what was the cost to fix the hood? Brian, I can't pronounce your last name. It's Kinau. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, Brian. Okay, so the cost to fix the hood, the customer was buying those VFD drives from Maylink themselves, and if I remember right, the VFD drives were costing them $800 to $900 per drive. Now, yes, I could have purchased a VFD drive on my own. They were just Allen Bradley drives, and yes, I could have probably gotten it for $400 to $500, but they weren't programmed. And see, the Maylink hood system relies heavily on the program of the drive. So it could have been done, but it was just kind of like, I didn't know if I was comfortable going through and programming that drive with that hood system. I really didn't want to be too responsible. So I was kind of urging, I was cool with the customer just buying them from Maylink themselves. And or in the past, I had bought them from Maylink myself too. I just wasn't comfortable in programming the drives because of how many things they had set up in them. And like I said, they were using the drives for the way that they had them integrated in the hoods. It wasn't just slowing down and speeding up the exhaust fan. They were communicating with the hood system. So that's why I was like, yeah. So at the customers was telling me that the drives were costing them about $900 their cost. And then they were paying me $500 to $600 per drive to put them in by the time we would come out and, set them up and everything. So, and then because the customer doesn't have any kind of power conditioning on the building, they were running into a lot of problems. Usually about the 3 to 4 year mark, they would lose the drives. Anytime they would have a power outage, they'd lose 1, 2, 3 drives sometimes right after a power outage. So there's a lot of problems here. Again, I'm not faulting the Maylink IntelliHood system because it is a great system. I just think that the customer could have done a little bit better. I think that they could have used some power conditioning, had electricians install things on them. I imagine that there's other things we could have done with the VFD drives too, putting grounding rings on the, to help them. And there's a lot of things they could have done, but just to the customer, it just wasn't cost effective basically because they were spending, let's just say $1,500 per drive every 3 to 5 years. And then they have, if I had to guess off the top of my head, this was a new prototype at this restaurant. So they had probably 15 or 20 of these restaurants in California, and then they have more across the US. So it was just a big expense for them. And, they just kind of chose to have me go through. Now, I was trying to scour my computer to find these pictures that I have because I've done, I think, 4 of these bypasses where I've gone through and completely gutted the Maylink system and installed traditional switches and traditional motor starters. And I was trying to find pictures of them, and I don't have pictures. So I'm gonna when I do bypass this one, I'll make sure I make a video out of it and explain everything to you guys because it's actually pretty intricate what I have to do to gut this system. Because like I've mentioned in some of my other videos, this hood system is all controlling. So it's tied into the fire suppression system, the Ansel system. It's tied into the alarm system for this through the smoke detectors. It's tied into the ACs. So basically, the sequence of operation is when you turn on the hood switch, it sends an occupied signal to all the ACs and all the outside air dampers open up. Then it turns on the exhaust fans and it turns on, then it turns on the exhaust fans, and then it turns on some small exhaust fans, restroom, dishwasher exhaust and all that too. But then on top of that, what it does is if there's ever a fire in the building when the hoods are running, the exhausts will remain on and it'll do emergency stop on all the ACs. So it's integrated through relays. It basically sends an emergency stop signal to all the ACs to stop supplying the building with makeup air and then running the exhaust fans. And then then it sends a signal to the duct detectors to tell them that there's a fire in the building. And then on top of that too, if the building is unoccupied and there's a fire and all the exhaust fans are off, then it powers on the exhaust fans, whether or not the hood switches are on, and still kills the power to the AC. So it has all kinds of features into it. So I've done a few of these. I think it's four, maybe 5 of them I've done, but I just don't have video of them. So the next one I do, which will be this restaurant, I'll get some videos so that way you guys can see because it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun. If you guys follow my Instagram, I have some pictures on Instagram of the motor starter setup and everything because like I can pre-wire some of it in my office and then take it with me to the job site and then integrate everything into it. So, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. So keep an eye out and I'll have that coming out. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll through some of these comments. Scott Lawrenson, I see your one where it says in Oregon, you cannot install a hood without makeup air. Okay. But remember, technically this hood has makeup air. It's just not a dedicated makeup air. Now, I don't know if that's allowed in Oregon or not, but it does have makeup air. All right. And what it does too, and this sounds strange, if you guys understand how a hood works, you create an air curtain in the exhaust fan or in the exhaust hood. Okay. So you usually have makeup air coming out the front or the back, and then it creates kind of like a circle air curtain, through the hood to try to trap the smoke and the heat in the exhaust hood. So this particular one, even though it doesn't have makeup air piped into it, it does have small axial fans that pull air from elsewhere in the kitchen and just creates that small little air curtain across the hood. But the fans and the little ducts that are going into the hoods aren't big enough to supply it with a massive amount of air. So I can't pipe in the makeup air into that. But so they still have a hood canopy. I mean, this is a legit system. And you'd be surprised. This system's installed in a lot of other restaurants besides this particular one. So it's pretty common. So I am kind of curious about this system and, what they would allow it to do. I imagine too, now that I think about it, we could do this in the Midwest and back East, as long as they had energy recovery ventilators or ERVs on the outside air. So they could still condition the outside air through the AC and run it this way too. We just don't do anything like that out here. So Chill Cosmos, you have asked if I've trained new techs before. Yes, I have. I've worked with other techs. I've had several come up through me. I've had techs train with me and leave to work elsewhere, all kinds of stuff. So yes, I'm always looking for technicians. Right now it's kind of like tricky because we're kind of going into the slow season. So it's that scary thing of, do you want to hire someone? Because I have to think I want to keep them busy. So I don't want them to be slow and, but yeah, I'm always looking for good techs. So Isaiah, how you doing, man? HVAC with Zaya. Jeff, I see you there. I see everybody. All right. I'm going to keep going through the comments here, guys. Sam Holsey, yes, you're right. There is something wrong, but it's been happening at multiple restaurants. So in my opinion, again, this is my opinion, but these systems are very susceptible to power problems. And here in Southern California, we have a lot of electrical issues. We have brownouts and different things in the summertime. So I think that this hood system would still be working bitchin' if they had proper power conditioning on this building. So again, there's nothing wrong with the hood system. I honestly don't think there's anything wrong with the drives. I just think it's no power conditioning on this building at all. So I think that's what the main problem is. Alex, good to see you, man. HVAC Life with Alex. Good to see you in here. Okay, guys. Any of the new guys that are coming in here, hopefully you guys know what's going on. We were talking about my my hood bypass video that I uploaded today. So if you haven't watched it, give it a chance and then come back and watch the live stream after on, because this live stream will go onto my channel. So then it'll probably make a little more sense to you. I was just kind of answering questions about the hood bypass and what I did and why I did it. I shouldn't say bypass, but watch the video and you'll understand. All right, guys. Okay, so what other questions do you guys have? That's kind of what I want to talk about with the hood bypass. So hopefully that stuff makes sense to you guys. Hey, I do want to bring up what I got here. I don't think I've showed this yet. I got the new solder welds HVAC kit. Brian contacted me with HVAC school and sent me one of these, said he wanted me to try it out. It's a pretty cool kit. I haven't used it yet because things are slowing down, but this is a pretty awesome little kit. And the one thing, if you guys haven't seen, I know Andrew, AK Greaves, has talked about solder weld a lot on his channel. But the cool thing I really like, I don't know if you guys can tell, but these are round rods. So this is 15% Silphos, and they're totally round instead of flat. Really, really cool. It's just really cool to think. And then what I really like is their, so like I said, I haven't used this. I'm not being paid by anybody. I just, they sent me, Brian sent me this kit. So I just wanted to show it, but I really like how this thing comes apart and you can, you know, so you don't lose those halfway sticks down inside there. So it's a cool little kit. Lots of other cool stuff inside here. There's 56% silver with flux coated rods. There's all kinds of cool stuff. It comes with an awesome little kit with everything you need, kind of basically to do whatever you need to braise. Really, you could do aluminum repair and everything from what they're saying. I got something else here too. Hold on. It also came with this little bag, this little go-to bag, so you can go up and it's an aluminum repair bag. It's got all this stuff. Kind of duplicates what's in the big case, but it's got flux and everything that you need and a steel bristle brush and everything. So pretty cool little kit. If you guys haven't, check them out. Solder Weld. Like I said, I'm not getting paid or anything. This was just sent to me, so I thought it was pretty cool. Ray, you put up a question. Let me go up here and read it. What was your question, Ray? Did I miss it? Oh, I think I missed your question. Was it a question you put in the comments, or was it a question you put in a YouTube video, Ray? What did I miss here? Tell me again. I'm going to keep going down through and let me know what you see, Ray, or let me know what your question was. Have I done residential in the past? No, I haven't done residential in the past. I've always done commercial. Worked with restaurants my whole life. Oh, in the comments. Can you type it in here, Ray? Did I answer it? I can't remember, dude. I had so many comments today. Or just remind me what the question was about. I might remember if you just give me a little bit of it. Okay, Brian Acatella, you were asking a good question about remoting a cap tube, or you said someone else asked it. Let me go up here and see. And I'll answer this because Total Tech, you're saying that the live stream is choppy. Guys, is it choppy to everybody else, or is it just to Total Tech? Nobody else is saying choppy, but let me know, guys. It's good? Okay. I think it's just you, Total Tech. I think you probably have a bad connection or something. Start to make me get scared here. All right, I'm going to go back up here. I'm trying to find this question about the cap tube. Remoting a cap tube. I remember seeing something in here. Going through it. Hold on. I'm trying to find it. I don't see it here. Oh, okay. Here you go. Prime time, you asked it. So you said you have a remote two-door freezer. They are cap tubes, and they are going into a courtyard. There would be solenoids. Do you need an oversized receiver or standard size sight glass to full? Okay, so here's the deal. Prime time. If you are using a cap tube, you are going to have a really hard time remoting it. Okay, because the way that a cap tube works is the cap tube needs essentially a solid column of liquid going to that cap tube. Okay, so you're going to have to back so much refrigerant back up into that system. It's really not going to work. If you have to remote a cap tube system, what you need to do is you need to go ahead and install TXVs at the evaporator coils. I'm not saying it can't be done, but you're going to have to put so much gas in that system. It's going to be unbelievably crazy. Okay, and it's not going to be very efficient. Cap tubes, typically they're not remoted systems, but I'm telling you though, most people will tell you it can't be done. I've seen it done, but I don't know how it worked. You got to put a lot of gas in that thing. So, okay, good. I'm glad, Total Tech. Yeah, so remote cap tube's not really going to work, but so what you would do, if they're not changing the evaporators, I would suggest you put some TXVs in those evaporators. If it's a cap tube system, I'm assuming they're quarter-ton TXVs, but you need to do a proper BTU calc. But most cap tube systems are like little third horsepower or quarter horsepower coils, or, it would require a third horsepower or quarter horsepower TXV most of the time. And then what you could do is put a remote condensing unit with a receiver and just clear the sight glass. But that's if it had a if it had a TXV. So I wouldn't suggest running a cap tube remote. You're going to run into some problems. So, well, I know you have to remote it, but throw some TXVs in there prime time, because you're going to, it'll work, but it's going to be a Frankenstein system. So, 1.5 horsepower Danfoss. Yeah, 2-door freezer. Yeah, dude. I imagine yeah, I'd need to know the information off of it. Who's the manufacturer of the box? Because you can just call them and then just tell them, look, what size TXV, and tell them you're converting it over. What's the gas? That's another thing too. What gas are you running in that thing? I'm going to look at some of these other questions. Fluke 196. Short of watching my videos, what do I think the greatest resource is to learn commercial HVAC? The best thing, the best education you can get is a true apprenticeship. Unfortunately, those don't really exist anymore. But if you can get a company that's going to pay you to shadow a tech, I'd say it's worth it. Hopefully it's a good tech and you'll learn a lot. But I would also suggest going to night school, community college. Further your education that way. Just take, 1 or 2 classes a week after work. Lots of reading. My favorite refrigeration book is Commercial Refrigeration for HVACR technicians. Or HVAC technicians. And, there's a lot of other books too. There's the rack manual. I'm looking over fundamentals of HVACR. I've got my HVAC books over here on the wall. So I was just looking at the names of the books they have up there. There's lots of great information, but your best bet is to ride along with someone, shadow with them, and, spend some time and learn that way. These videos and different things are great, but in no way do I expect or want these videos to be a training method for new technicians. I mean, it's a great supplement to what you're learning, but you really need a true person working with you, because I really don't think you're going to learn very much from videos. So keep going through these here real quick. Oh yeah, Primetime 404A. True? Oh, easy, bro. Yeah, just call True. They'll tell you what size TXV to put in that thing. So it's easy, man. Just put a TXV in there and put the condensing units and get a condensing unit that has a big enough receiver. It's easy enough, man. It won't be hard at all. You could totally do that. Yeah, Rookie Refrigeration. Dick Wurz's book is a badass book. So definitely good. I've had the pleasure of taking one of Dick Wurz's classes. I did an online class through HVACR EDU. They're an online education place. And a lot of times they have subsidized education programs that you can get in. Doesn't matter what state you're in. In a lot of states, they have them. In California, the energy companies out here, they subsidize their plans. And so you can basically take the online class for, a couple bucks. And they were doing a pilot program with Dick Wurz, and they still use his program, but it was a live class that was taught by him. So I believe the other classes are just kind of recordings and you'll watch videos and different things, but mine was actually a live class. So it was live streams essentially. And it was great because I got to interact with Dick Wurz. And then I got one of the greatest compliments ever when I wrote an article for Brian Orr on HVAC School about temperature controllers. I was personally contacted by Dick Wurz, which sent me through the roof, because that was awesome. And he contacted me and said he really liked my article. It was really cool to get contacted by him. So he got a hold of Brian Orr because he had done a podcast with Brian Orr, and then Brian gave him my information and he got a hold of me, and that was really cool. But he's a very, very nice guy, very, very smart gentleman. And I would suggest getting his book if you guys don't already have it. So I'm kind of going through these comments a little bit more, guys. Isaiah, you left a question. Let me look up here real quick. I'm going up here. Sorry, bud. I'm looking for it. I'm going to answer your question right now, Isaiah. Let me just find it. Hang on. Keep going. Hold on, Isaiah. I don't see your question, Isaiah. What was it? Can you type it again, bud? I'm trying to find it, Isaiah. Are you talking about the question about the York inverter systems, Isaiah? Is that the question you were asking me? I haven't seen that York inverter. Oh wait, no, is that the one? No, I haven't seen that. I saw the Daikin inverter that you showed in your video, Isaiah, but I haven't seen the York inverter systems. So All right. Keep on going. Prime time. Yeah, I would suggest it. I can help you out if you send me an email prime time with all the specs. I can help you to figure out what exactly you need. So if you want, send me an email and we can talk a little bit more. I can give you some feedback on that stuff. It shouldn't be too difficult. If it's a true reach in, dude, it's going to be like a quarter ton TXV. So their stuff aren't that big usually. Online schools for the East Coast, Michael Hayden. Well, first off, anybody that doesn't know in here, HVAC school. Okay. Brian Orr runs an amazing website and he has podcasts and videos that he puts up. He's mainly into the podcast. So make sure you guys are subscribers to that. Online schools for the East Coast. I would look up HVACR EDU. So it's hvacr.edu. That would be the only online school that I personally know of that's great. Okay, guys. I can't really vouch for any other online school. So that would be the only one. And it's hard to get an education from just online. So keep it in mind, man. You really need some hands-on learning too. So keeping going through here, guys. I have never used an electronic sight glass. Total Tech, you asked me. I've heard that they're cool, but I've never used one. So Sergio Montoya, you said iHacky. Are you talking about the training that iHacky offers? iHacky is a trade organization that does training and they offer classes here in Southern California. I don't know. Are they nationwide? I really don't know if iHacky is nationwide, but they have some good information. I've taken some iHacky classes too locally. They got some great information. They usually work through the utility companies. And all right, guys, what other questions? You guys have any other questions? G Salas, thank you very much. I appreciate it. How's the thermal imager, Brian Acatella? Honestly, I haven't had much of a chance to use it. Been busy. I spent the day in the office today, so haven't had a chance to really do anything else with it. I take that back. The other night, I heard a noise outside, and I think I have like a rodent running around my backyard, and I was trying to find it with a thermal imager, and I wasn't able to find it. So that's about the only bit I've used the thermal imager for. So if you guys don't know, I in one of the last live streams, I said I got a FLIR 1 Pro because I want to use it to try to check receiver levels, but I just haven't had a chance to use it again. So, okay, Total Tech, you're asking where am I getting my R290 wet size jugs and cans? Okay, so originally R290 was really expensive. Now it's gotten really cheap. We get it from our local distributor, which is RSD. Anybody that sells Icor refrigerants, Icor is now distributing R290 refrigerant. So you can get it from anybody that sells Icor. Icor is the company that makes Hot Shot. I believe they're Chem Wars now, aren't they? I believe Matt McKinney was on Shop Talk, and I believe I'm pretty sure that they're Chem Wars now. But yeah, so Icor has the R290. It's like a little 15-ounce can. I believe it comes with 2 of them, and it comes with all the tools and everything to do it. It's like a little kit. So that's who I'm getting it from. Dude, they're not that expensive anymore. I want to say they're less than $100 for the 2 cans or something like that. It's still, if you break down the per pound price of R290, it's still pretty crazy how expensive it is. But when it first came out, it was more expensive than R22. So interestingly enough, guys, I had a compressor failure, and I think I have yeah, I think I'm going to make a video out of it. I think I've got some footage. I haven't edited it yet, but it wasn't R290, but it really made me think of R290 because the customer's complaint, it was a Dell-filled refrigerator, and the customer's complaint was that it shot sparks out the back of the box. And then one of the cooks was saying it shot flames out. So when I went out there, it was already dead. Found that the terminal blew off the compressor, but I had multiple people swearing up and down that it blew flames out. So what we had was a terminal vent where more than likely there was a direct short the starting component or the relay or something failed, and it arced against the posts of the compressor and it blew the terminal out. So the customer saw sparks. Imagine if that was R290 refrigerant in there. I'm telling you, someone would have been surprised, because yeah, that would have been an interesting one. All right. Hey, there's Zach. Yeah, Kim Wars. See, I watch your stuff, Zach. I remember the episode with Matt McKinney. All right. Kevin Ear asked how I got into the HVAC industry. My dad. So I run this business with my dad. We're co-owners together. I grew up in the trade working with my dad. I can remember sitting on his bucket holding his flashlight. So ever since I was in elementary school, I officially started working for him in 2001, about a year, 2002. So I lied earlier, guys. So it's been 17 years. So I officially started working in 2002, a year after high school. And that's when it's been official. I've been doing this. So, but yeah, I grew up in it. So that's how I got started. I kind of was born into this trade. All right, going through any more. R600, Scott Lawrence, and no, I have not done R600 yet. I've done R290, that's it. But I mean, it's no different than R290. If you guys haven't watched my video, I have the R290 video where it shows me changing a compressor. Give it a watch. It's interesting. If you follow all the rules, which I did in that video, it's kind of sketchy, because if you follow the rules that the manufacturer wants you to do, the system does not come with service ports on it. Okay. And you have to pinch the lines off and weld on service ports with R290 on the other side of that pinch off tool. And then when you're all done, if you follow the rules, I changed the compressor in it, recharged it. I had to pinch off the lines, cut off the service ports, and weld them shut. So if you guys follow the rules, it's kind of sketchy. And that's the way you're supposed to do it. And it's sketchy. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a fan of welding the ports back off or cutting the ports off when you're done. I've since done a repair on a system, and I did not weld the port shut. I left them on there and just taped them with red electrical tape and made it obvious that it was R290. So I guess the biggest thing about the R290 is that you don't want a tech to just go in behind you and throw service gauges on there, because you don't want them to be, casually just throwing gauges on there and not realizing that it's R290. Remember, with R290, you can't smell it. So you're not going to know it's leaking out. So if something sticks, if you're using something electronic nearby and you've got a nice blast of R290 on it, potentially you could have a fire hazard. So that's the reason, in my opinion, as to why they want you to weld those service ports shut when you're done. So, but it's still, yeah, it's sketchy for sure. So, okay. Going to keep going through the comments here, seeing if I'm missing anything, guys. Okay. So I'm going to go up here, cause I think I'm missing some good stuff. So I'm trying to get to the top of these comments, cause I see some conversations about LAC valves. Total Tech, you're saying you mainly run into DuPont refrigerants. Yeah. The interesting thing, and then you tell me if I'm right, but I find that the rules in Canada seem to be a lot stricter than in the US. It seems that it's harder to bring, let's say, as far as you say, you see DuPont. DuPont, in my opinion, is a more common brand, and I would assume a more expensive brand. So am I correct in saying that, some of these other refrigerant manufacturers that are smaller are going to have a hard time importing into Canada because of your guys' trade restrictions and different things? Do you think that's what it is? The reason why I say that is aren't the unions really strong in Canada? Am I correct in saying that? It just seems like the education is better. It seems like the licensing requirements seem to be a lot stricter in Canada. I'd be kind of curious to know about that. See, I kind of like the fact that Canada's strict, guys. I mean, here I live in California where, yeah, we have crazy liberal laws, but licensing requirements are nothing. Anybody can be an HVAC tech. I mean, you just have to, I mean, anybody can be a tech. If you want to handle refrigerant, you have to have a federal EPA 608 certification, but that's it. And then we get a lot of, people that really aren't the greatest technicians. So I like the fact that you have to have a license in Canada. See, I think that's a great thing, guys. I'm going to be honest with you guys. The concept of unions is great to me. I think a union, if it's not corrupt and it's not, doing shady stuff, I think the unions are great because you have representation, and the education that you used to get from the unions was amazing. We used to have union companies here in California. I mean, there's still a few, but they're not that big. I mean, if you want to do government work, essentially, you have to be union, or the company that you work for has to pay prevailing wages. But that's the only place that unions are still really strong, is in government or institution work. So in California, I should say. But it's kind of a bummer that the unions aren't that strong anymore, because I feel like maybe we would have better education. But I know a lot of people, have different things. Sean Michael, hey man, what's up? Fluke 196. I mean, yes, it is possible for a union to be corrupt, for sure. I mean, corruption happens everywhere. Our police are corrupt, and not all of them, but some of them are corrupt. You have corrupt politicians, but then some of them are good too. So it's hard. There's corruption everywhere. It's definitely interesting. So, okay, I'm going to keep going through the comments here real quick. Hey, Wolfie, how you doing, man? All right. Okay. Bthome 956, you asked if you can service R290 without certification. Yes, you can. There is no, in the United States that I know of, unless it's a local law or code, there is no certification needed to work on R290. All right. Some supply houses may do that silly thing that they did with 410A when it first came out, where they want you to have a certification, but there's no federal law saying you have to have a certification to work on R290. No. And that's a scary thing too. But nope, no federal law at all. You don't even need to have an EPA license to work on R290, because it's a you don't. Oh, you know what? Do you have to have an EPA? I don't know. The way the old EPA certification is written, it might still be classified as a refrigerant. So you may have to have your EPA license, but you definitely don't have to recover it. You just vent it into the atmosphere because it's a natural refrigerant. So, all right, kind of go through the comments. I see a bunch of them coming in, guys. So I'm going to try to catch up with these. Sean Michael, when I read your comment, I thought you said your buddy just proposed to you. Sorry. Now, and then I reread it and I saw my buddy just now. Okay, so at first I saw your buddy propose to you, and then when I reread it, I saw your buddy propositioned you. Okay, yeah, proposition you did. Okay, got you. I see what you're saying now, but that's funny, dude. At first I saw your buddy proposed to you. Hey, it's all good, bro. I'm from California, so we're good with that. So you can be whatever you want. We don't judge here in California. Okay, I'm gonna keep going, guys. Keep looking through the comments here. Wolfie, you want to ask me a question about a home window AC? Sure. Total Tech, thank you very much, man. Really appreciate that. Yeah, go ahead. Ask me a question about a window air conditioner. I'll answer it to the best of my ability. So I'm going to keep going through the comments here. No, I don't do any work on Aeon units, Jay. Baltazar Romero, do I think you'll be able to have a service company if you only pass the EPA and all the sections and only having a year of experience? Baltimore, are you saying that you want to open your own company? That depends on where you live and what the rules are. Here in California, there is a law about contractors' licenses, and you do have to have so much industry experience excuse me, before you can obtain a contractor's license, and or I believe you can show, yeah, there's rules. So it all depends on where you live and what the rules are in the municipalities that you live in. So I wouldn't suggest it though, man. I would really suggest that you get a little more experience before you try to open your own company, because I think you're going to run into some problems. Going to keep going through here. Okay, HVACR Knoxville. If there are any bubbles in a sight glass before you add refrigerant, what do you have to check before adding refrigerant and why? Okay, first off, are we talking about an air conditioning system, a built-up air conditioning system, or a refrigeration system? That's very important. Does the system have a receiver? If the system has a receiver, an actual liquid line receiver, and it has an expansion valve and a sight glass, what you're going to do when you fully charge that, or when you first charge that system, is you're going to put about what you seem to be about 3/4 of the charge in the system, and you're going to let the system stabilize out. You're going to add refrigerant slowly. It's okay if there's a few bubbles at first. Okay. You want to just kind of add refrigerant slowly. As the system stabilizes out, as it gets within about 10 degrees of temperature, you should have a clear sight glass, and then you want to check your superheat. Okay. What you don't want to do is you don't want to clear that sight glass when the system is still 90 degrees inside, because you're potentially going to overcharge that system. Now, once you have cleared that sight glass, then once the system has stabilized out, then you need to add your winter charge for the headmaster, if the system has a headmaster or an LAC valve or a holdback valve. Okay. So it's important to understand that you need to make sure if your system does have a headmaster, it's going to take more than a clear sight glass. Okay. It's okay for a system, as long as it's not iced up, everything else is working properly on it. It's okay for it to have a bubble every once in a while. Okay. I'm talking a bubble, 30 seconds later, another bubble. I wouldn't necessarily go dumping gas in there quite yet. Okay. But hopefully that answers your question. Can I keep looking through here? Okay, Wolfie, you're asking if you're able to recharge a residential window unit. I'm going to be honest with you. Yes, you can recharge them, but a lot of times the newer ones, if this is a newer one, it's going to have the hydrocarbon refrigerants in it. Okay. If it's an older one, it might have 410A or R22. But to be honest with you, dude, you go pick up a new one at Lowe's for $400. What you're going to pay, you know, are you a service technician, or are you a homeowner or a do-it-yourselfer? If you're a homeowner or a do-it-yourselfer, you're going to pay more than it is to buy a new one. But if you're a technician, sure, you can cut into the system. It's probably not going to have service ports on it, though. You're going to have to cut into it, weigh in the charge, and then you got to figure out where the charge went. Most of the time, it's not worth the effort. You can just go get a new one from the store. It's kind of the same way with the residential refrigerators. As long as it's not one of those big fancy ones, you just go get a new one. Out of curiosity, guys, can anybody tell me how many people are in the watching the video right now? I can't see it at the moment. I was just kind of curious how many people. Oh, I see it now. 84 viewers. Okay, cool. Right on. It just blows my mind that there's 84 people that are actually watching me talk. Okay, I'm going to keep going through here, guys. I'm going to keep answering questions, guys. So just let me know if there's anything that I missed. It's kind of hard for me to catch back up to some of these. Okay, Sean Michael, here's one. What can cause a switch in polarity on a 3-phase air conditioning unit other than human interaction? You can't figure out how the unit had a switch phase the other day. Okay. I've had electricians go in and rewire a panel incorrectly, and the entire panel was going backwards, and there was 3 air conditioners, and they were in 3 compressors. I don't know what else can cause the unit to switch phases. I would say that if the unit has any variable frequency drives, sometimes on the newer VFDs, they will have a phase rotation feature built into them to where they'll automatically switch phases if it's going backwards. I'm trying to guess what's going on in your situation, but I could imagine that if you had a VFD that was messed up, maybe it would switch, but that would only be whatever the VFD was controlling. So yeah, I don't know what would cause it to switch other than that. I mean, if the unit doesn't have any VFD drives, there's nothing that can cause the rotation to change itself. the phase rotation A, B, and C unless someone unwired and wired it, unless it's got some fancy electronic controls on it. Keep going here, guys. Reading through the comments. Okay, HVACR Knoxville refrigeration system with the receiver. Yeah, bro, you're going to run a clear sight glass on that thing, but you just don't want to dump a lot of gas into it right away. So, you know, like I said, you want to get that thing put in, you know, almost until a clear sight glass, let it run for a little bit, let it stabilize out. You're going to notice that as the system stabilizes out, the sight glass is probably going to clear up a little bit. And then once you get about 10 degrees, 20 degrees within box temp, you're going to go ahead and clear the rest of that sight glass. So, okay, I'm going to keep going here, guys. Looking through the comments, seeing what I'm missing here. Sean Michael, yeah, bro, it's got to be someone that physically did it, unless they have some fancy switching mechanism on there or something like that that can automatically switch it. I've never seen a 3-phase switch itself. Okay, keep going here, guys. Yeah, that's exactly it, dude. If the main line was cut, then the city switched it wrong, and they hooked it up wrong. Okay, keep coming in here, guys. Okay, guys. Unless you guys got too many more questions, I'm going to go ahead and end this because we're going on an hour right now. So I kind of try to like to keep these at an hour. So you guys have anything else really important you guys want to ask? Okay, prime time. You said I have different setups in Cali. Why would you have an enclosed housing on the roof and use an you're talking about that old refrigeration rack. That's an actual that's a really old setup. The reason why they're actually running that though, that was at a restaurant out in La Quinta, California. So it's out in the middle of the desert and they hit 120 plus in the summertime. So we have to have pre-coolers on our refrigeration equipment or we would have to drastically oversize it. The heat outside would be too hot. So that's what you're talking about. Yeah, that's an enclosed rack. We used to see that a lot in the 80s out here. There was a lot of systems that were enclosed and they would have swamp coolers on them. But we don't have that anymore. So that's a very rare one. That's not common for us to have that enclosed system. It's a cool, very efficient though, because think about what you're doing. We're lowering the condensing temps. So, but like in those videos I've showed you guys, that cooling media or the swamp cooler is very important though, because when it fails, that whole rack went down. You know, everything went off on high head pressure when that swamp cooler failed. So, all right, going to keep going. I see a bunch of stuff coming in here, guys. I'm going to keep reading these. Have I ever told the customer they need a new HVAC unit? Chris E. Yeah, I've told them that a lot. Sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't. I think you guys, there was a video that I did where I repaired a Carrier air conditioner and I had to cut all the fins off the evaporator, braze the line shut, change a compressor, recharge with R22. I told them to change that unit and they chose a very, very expensive repair over replacing it. So sometimes they listen, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's, you know, budgets. I don't know. I'm assuming that budgets are different and they have a repair budget and they have a replacement budget because sometimes it seems like they just repair things that they're spending more repairing than they would have replaced. So who knows? I just do what I'm told. All right, going to keep going here, guys. Yeah, guys. Sean Michael says to vote. I already sent in my ballot. I did an absentee ballot. So everybody get out and vote. Yep. Okay, going to keep going here, guys, reading through these comments. Thanks for coming in here, Total Tech. I really appreciate that. Going to keep trying to get through here. I appreciate you guys, you know, watching this stuff. So, Rookie Refrigeration, are you asking me if I would jump into ammonia work? I have no interest in doing ammonia work if that's what you're asking me, but I do know that it can be a very rewarding. I mean, it can be a great part of the industry if you can get into it. Sure. I think everybody in this industry is needing techs. So Sean Michael, I appreciate you watching, bud. So thanks, HVACR Knoxville. You too, man. All right. Have I ever had an AC system catch fire and explode? Matthew Tyndale. No, I've never had an AC system catch fire and explode. I mean, unless it had a flammable refrigerant in it, I really don't think it would be exploding. But I have had like motors catch on fire and then catch the insulation and the AC on fire. I've had that happen. I've had a heat exchanger or gas heating sections roll out the flame and catch the insulation on fire. I've had that happen. And then the fire department has to come out and basically they have to replace the unit. But I've never had an AC unit explode. All right, going to keep trying to get to the last of these guys. Sean Michael, yeah, ammonia is nice that you can smell it, but the problem is when you can smell it, it's too late, right? That's what I've always heard about ammonia. If you can smell it, it's too late and you've got problems. Andrew Jacks, thank you very much, man. If you guys have any more questions, I still got a few more minutes. Anybody else? Come on. Bring it on. Hey guys, you know, I'm going to point out something here real quick too. Oh, hang on. Let me read these. What's my favorite way to find leaks? Are you talking about on just normal refrigeration systems? My favorite way to find leaks? I mean, I'm a big fan of Big Blue. Big Blue's the one, man. I really like using Big Blue from Refrigeration Technologies. And I really like just using my electronic leak detector. So that's how I'll roll on finding a leak. Rodney Rodriguez, I appreciate you watching all my videos, man. Matthew Tyndale, thank you, man. I'm going to keep making them. So, Wolfie, have I ever had to repair an AC 2 times on one call? You mean repair the AC twice? Haha, I'll tell you a story. One time I was fixing an AC. I was out in the middle of Palm Springs. It wasn't La Quinta. It was out in Rancho Mirage. And we just got done changing a compressor. And I was cleaning the condenser. Douglas Lightsey, thank you very much, man. So I was changing the compressor, finished changing the compressor. I'd been there all day. It was about a 10-hour day. And I went to go put a shroud that was on the AC because we had this shroud on there so that we could blow a swamp cooler on it. Again, it was out in the Palm Springs area. And this shroud, the screw that I used was too long and I went right into the condenser. So I'd been there for 10 hours and then I put a screw right in the condenser. Yeah, that was a crappy day. So yeah, I had to fix that AC twice in one day. By the time I got done fixing that, it was nighttime. So, keep going here, guys. Frank Andrade. Is that? Oh, wow. Fluke. Thank you, guys. Okay. So Fluke 196, you're asking me why I have multiple sets of gauges. Okay. First off, I'm a tool whore. I love tools. Okay. I like to spend my money on tools. And I just like all kinds of cool stuff. All right. It's just fun having stuff for me. I love this trade and I'm passionate about it. So, what I like to do is, you know, I like to have different brands of stuff. So I got involved in the iManifold when Jim Bergman was still with iManifold. It was when he was still working. Well, no, he had just left TrueTech Tools. If you guys don't know who Jim Bergman is, he's a really smart guy. Currently, he's got Measure Quick is his thing he's working on right now. But anyways, Jim Bergman used to be co-owner of TrueTech Tools with Bill Spohn. And Jim Bergman this was in the HVAC Talk days. If any of you guys have been in this long enough to remember HVAC Talk, the message board. This was before Facebook really took off. Anyways, Jim Bergman was making a lot of videos and he made a bunch of field piece videos and sold me on a bunch of the field piece stuff. So this was before any of the field piece stuff I have now. This is when they had the handles that you had to clip together for all their different tools. So anyways, he sold me on that, just watching his videos, and I bought it all. I bought everything, spent way too much money on it. And then he went to iManifold and started the iManifold, and it blew away anything that field piece had. And still to this day, I still have my original iManifold stuff and I still love it to death. And I know they're working on some really cool stuff, but they just need to upgrade their technology. Then Field Piece came out with their cool stuff, and it's just tools, man. I just love having tools. And I like the new technology. I like when they come out with this new cool stuff. And I lucked out being involved with this stuff from the beginning. And I got to work with iManifold when it first came out. I was one of the beta testers for the iConnect. And then I've done a lot of beta testing work for Fieldpiece over the years. It's been kind of cool. All you got to do is just talk to the right people and you get to try all kinds of cool new tools. You know, all these manufacturers are looking for people to try out their new tools. So they love their beta testers. All you got to do is email the right people or know the right people and you'll get in on that stuff. So, all right, I'm going to keep going through these here, guys. Everybody, you guys, I really appreciate you guys giving these super chats. This is not why I'm doing this. Okay, guys. If I haven't told you guys already, I started making these videos, or if you haven't heard me already, I started making these for my employees. Okay, guys. I had a couple years back, I had 3 employees leave me at the same time. Now I've realized that there was some things I could have done differently. It was kind of both sided. Excuse me. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about that. That was rude. So I had 3 employees leave me at the same time, and I was left in a bind. And I had to hire 3 new employees. They all had been to school. They all had experience, but it was just different experience, not necessarily working in the restaurant, not necessarily working with me. And I had to train them and train them fast because we were coming into summertime. So like I said, they all knew what they were doing. They knew how to use the tools. They knew how to use meters. They knew how to do everything, but they just weren't trained with my methods. And if you guys have seen my videos, you realize that I'm a freak. I'm OCD. I do things a particular way. Okay. So these videos were originally for them. And I started making these videos on the interesting things that I saw and the weird methods. You notice how I preach about de-icing a walk-in freezer, and you notice it probably makes more sense to you guys now too. The way that I methodically show people how to take them apart, do the same steps every single time. That probably brings my videos into context for you because they're technically for my employees. Okay. But then I just decided, why not? There was other people making YouTube videos and I figured I'm just going to make them public. And that's why I make these, is I just want to help everybody. Okay. They're for my guys. And the fact that you guys are giving me a super chat, that just blows me away. You guys, I really appreciate it. Okay. So I do also want to say that we've got some cool stuff coming down the pipeline. I've been emailing some manufacturers, and we're going to start working with a few manufacturers. And I've got, like, for instance, I've got a Vito bag that they sent me that they want me to review. And then they've also got a bag. I asked them to send me a bag that I could give away. So we've got a Vito MB coming where that you guys can, I'll do a giveaway and we'll give that away. And I've been emailing other people too. So hopefully I can start giving you guys some stuff too. And you guys can get something out of this because I really appreciate your guys' feedback. Okay. So that'll be coming soon. And as I email other manufacturers and talk to other ones, maybe we'll have more giveaways too. So that's all coming down the pipeline. So, all right, I'm going to go back up here and catch up on these comments, guys, and see what I missed. All right. Bob D, I'm glad you could be here too. Okay. Wolfie, you said your dad's the same way. Do you work for your dad, Wolfie? Are you implying, or was that when I was talking about my OCD? Frank Andrade, you said you do refrigeration out in Orange County, California. I'm in Riverside, man. You should send me a email. We could talk. I'd be kind of curious where you work, who you work for. Not trying to steal you or anything like that. I just like to know. So send me an email, Frank. Okay, I'm going to keep going down. Rookie refrigeration tool whore. Yep. You better believe it, man. I've since learned my lesson, but I used to use my credit card the wrong way. And I used to just buy whatever I wanted with my credit card. And I've grown a lot older and I don't use credit cards anymore, and I paid off all my debt. But back when credit cards were new, boy, did I have a lot of tools because I just bought everything and anything that I wanted. Didn't matter if I needed it or not. So, okay, I'm going to keep going through these here, guys. To an extent, Familia, I spend a lot more money on tools than I do clothes. Yeah, I do the same thing. I have pants that I've had for 3 years, you know, and I replace tools faster than that. But I will say that for the most part, I don't buy stuff that I don't need anymore. And what I do buy, I use it, and I use it to the fullest potential. And I typically don't baby my tools, guys. If it's not going to work, you know, I'm pretty rough with my tools, to be honest with you, because I'm not going to buy something that's cheap. I'm going to use it, and I'm going to use it, you know, to the fullest extent. I'm not saying I throw them off of the roof or anything like that, but I use the heck out of them. I don't keep them in fancy cases for the most part and stuff. I might keep them in a bag, but no, I use them. Okay, gonna keep going here, guys. What's the best refrigerant to use on a refrigerator? Matthew Tyndale. That's kind of a loaded question. I would say all the refrigerants do the same thing. They boil at a certain temperature. I mean, that really is kind of a hard question to answer. Now, when you get down into the nitty gritty of it, you know, is the refrigerant miscible with the oil that you're using? You know, I mean, there's different things you can do there, but I mean, I really don't even know how to answer that question because a refrigerant's a refrigerant. R290, in my opinion, works the same as R404, and it works the same as R22, and it works the same as MP39 and R12. And I mean, they're kind of all the same. Now, when you start trying to convert a system from one refrigerant to another, that's when you start to run into a problem. So, yeah, it's kind of hard for me to answer that question. If you have a more specific question, you can send me an email and we could talk about it more, but it's kind of crazy, or it's kind of hard for me to tell you which one's better and which one's not. I mean, you know, for the most part, you know, we have to use a certain refrigerant because it's set up for that refrigerant. So Fluke 196, just to answer your question a little bit more too, I do have multiple sets. So if you guys haven't seen in my videos, I carry field piece S-man gauges. I carry an I manifold, and I carry the field piece job link probes. Okay, those are the gauges that I have. Actually, I think I might even have a yellow jacket, old school manifold in my van too. Which one do I like better? They all have a purpose and a place. The field piece ones lately, the field piece job link probes have been my favorite on critically charged systems and ice machines where I can get them because they're small and compact and you can get them into places and they're not too crazy. And the clamps are wireless. I really like that. Excuse me. The iManifold is great when I'm working on multi-circuited air conditioning systems. So if I'm working on a Linux unit that has 4 compressors, I can have temperature clamps on discharge line, suction line, liquid line, outdoor air temps, a manometer. I can have pressure probes and see the entire system operating all at once. I really like the iManifold for that. The things I don't like about the iManifold is the temperature wires that run everywhere, but they're working on that. Promise you guys. I know that they're currently working on, you know, trying to come up with a solution for all the wires going everywhere. But the iManifold still has amazing gauges and they still have amazing range if you get the upgraded probes. They use a Zigbee wireless protocol and they can go forever and they're repeatable. So you can take one sensor and it can communicate to the next one and communicate to the next one and so forth. So you can extend your range insane lengths. The field piece job link probes have Bluetooth 4.0 and that gives them amazing range too, but not at this moment. They're not repeatable, but I know that they're working on some really cool stuff too. So field piece is stepping it up, and the field piece and the iManifold and the Testo smart probes all work with Measure Quick. And Measure Quick, if you guys don't know, Google search Measure Quick. Jim Bergman made an app. It's basically a super smart app that analyzes air conditioning system at this moment, but I know he's working on a refrigeration system one too. So there's all kinds of cool technology out there, guys. All right, I'm going to keep going through these. Prime time, you said you've seen undersized condensers in Toronto and it's a disaster in the summer. Oh yeah, undersized condensers are a major problem, and undersized receivers. See, one of the things that we do a lot of times is we take an indoor condensing unit that you go buy from Copeland or Tecumseh, right? And you remote it, you put it outside, which is fine because they'll give you outdoor enclosures that you can put over those condensing units. But the fact that they're made as indoor condensing units usually means that the receivers aren't very big. Okay. So when you remote those, the receiver might not be big enough to hold the full refrigerant charge. And so you run into problems with that. So it's very important that you check your receiver size before you size up an outdoor condensing unit, and you make sure that you put the proper receivers on there. So that way you can pump it down at the receiver and or put a full winter charge in it. You run into all kinds of problems. There's nothing worse than coming up on a system that you have to change an expansion valve on, and you go to pump it down at the receiver and you find out that there's not enough room in the receiver. So then you have to recover the charge. What a pain in the butt that is. All right, going to keep going down here, guys. What did I struggle with the most? Joe Mama asked me, what did I struggle with the most when I first started? Electrical. That was my biggest hurdle. Motor starters and electric defrosts on a walk-in freezer system. Those were the two biggest things that struggled with the most, was learning how they worked. They were so ominous to me. I struggle with a lot. I'll be honest with you. I didn't understand the refrigeration circuit for a long time. Many years into the trade, it took me to finally fully grasp and understand the refrigeration system and what happens in the system, because I came up in a time when you could make mistakes and it was kind of trial and error and you just figured things out. So yeah, definitely struggled a lot in the beginning. Rookie refrigeration, you said you have 407C systems in. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with 407C. Now, if someone tries to use 407C in a mineral oil system, that's when you're going to run into problems. If you're using 407C in a system that wasn't designed for it, that's when I get scared. But if the system has polyester oil in it and you're not using it beyond the thresholds of the refrigerant's temperature capabilities, I mean, it's just another refrigerant. It should work just fine. Okay, keep going down. Okay, Sean Michael, you make a great point. As long as the transducers are calibrated, digital is great. Okay, guys, I can't stress enough calibration. Okay, digital gauges all have to be calibrated. I know I've said it in my videos multiple times, and I've said it multiple times in the articles I've written for Brian Orr, is we need to calibrate our instruments. How many people, and again, guys, I know that you've done this before, and I know that people still do it to this day. If you have your field piece S-man manifold and you plug in the temperature clamps to it, you need to calibrate those or test calibration on a every couple days. Okay. And then on top of that, if you take the T1 port, okay, your whatever, if that's suction side port, and you plug it into that terminal, it needs to stay in that terminal, meaning that you can unplug it, but you have to plug it back into that terminal again. And you need to check calibration every couple days. Any digital gauges you use, you need to check calibration. Now, such as the field piece probes, and the field piece probes automatically zero themselves out. And I still check calibration. There's no way for me to change the calibration in the field of the field piece job link probes. But every time I test the calibration, they're always calibrated. But it's important that you always know when your instruments are working correctly and you keep testing that. So I'm going to keep going here, guys. Brian Acatella, you asked, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. Is Acatella or is it acetala? I guess it's probably not going to come across when you type it, but hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Anyways, my field piece job link probes, does it show pumping down into a vacuum? I think they'll go into a vacuum, but I don't think they'll go very far. And I will say too, one of the downfalls to digital gauges is the sample rate. So if you use a compound manifold, you can actually see it more in a real time drop down. So if you're pumping down a system and you're watching digital, it's off by a second or a second and a half. So you can miss if you're trying to calibrate a pressure control, see where the pump down is, it's very difficult to see that with any kind of a digital gauge. So that's where your compound manifold is going to really come into play. Okay, keep going here, guys. I'm just kind of reading through these guys. What is my biggest mistake? My biggest funny mistake? I got a good one, guys. Okay. So, I used to do work for a hospital, and I had a new guy working with me. He was an apprentice, and we got an emergency service call in the middle of the night. Excuse me. It'd be great if he watches this because he'll get a laugh out of this because this was a hilarious one. So we got an emergency service call in the middle of the night for a morgue cooler that wasn't working. This was a 4-passenger morgue cooler, so it held 4 bodies. The complaint that it wasn't working. Now, to give you some context, a day previous to us getting this service call, we changed 4 evaporator fan motors in this thing. Okay, so then flash forward to the next middle of the night, we got a service call that the 4-door morgue cooler, 4-passenger morgue cooler wasn't working and it had a burning smell. We installed the wrong evaporator fan motors the day before. Now, what happened was I had gone in there and looked at it and then told the apprentice, go ahead and change out those motors. And I handed him the motors and he put 115 volt motors in a 208 volt system. It was my fault. It was not him. It was totally on me. I said the voltage wrong and picked up the wrong motors and handed him the motors and we changed it. So that morgue cooler smelt for 3 weeks. The burning smell inside that thing. The hospital staff was telling me that the people, the orderlies that would bring the bodies in were all complaining of that burning smell on top of the dead body smell. Well, dead bodies really don't smell in the morgue because they're refrigerated, but yeah, that cooler smelt to high hell for years. That was my my funny, nasty, biggest mistake. Luckily, the hospital customer that I worked for at the time was very forgiving and they all had a good laugh about it because I fixed it. I didn't charge them. We came out that night. You know, we owned up to the mistake. It was a simple mistake, but we screwed up. So yeah, that was a nasty one. Jeremy Calvin. Yeah, I really want to do the commercial air balance certification. I've always wanted to do it and I will. You bring up the point that is right here in Los Alamitos. Yeah, NCI. I've done some stuff at NCI, but never the commercial air balance training. And I have no reason other than I haven't had the time because it's subsidized by my local utility. I only have to pay like $100 for the class, and it's like a 3-day class or something, and it's basically free. So yes, I need to do it. So, all right. Kyle Lahone. Just watch the thing. I'm going to continue to do these guys on Mondays at 5 is the plan. I'm going to keep doing these on Mondays at 5. That way I don't headbutt anybody else that's doing live streams. I don't want to mess with Zach's live streams or anybody else's stuff. So I'm going to shoot for Monday at 5 is what I'm going to keep doing on these things. Okay, guys. Jeremy Calvin. Yeah. Yeah. Air balance. You watch the video. You'll see it. It's kind of a trip, dude. What have I done at NCI? Let me think. What was it that I did? No, you know what, Jeremy? I haven't taken a class. I went to an introduction class, to become part of their. That's what it was. The class that I did was kind of like an introduction class to do energy optimization for the Edison program when they were going strong on that. I actually didn't take a class per se. It was just I went to their facility and took that introduction class. It was like a meet and greet with a bunch of other contractors, and they had dinner and stuff for everybody. I was thinking of iHacky. I've done iHacky classes, but I know NCI is a million times better than the iHacky classes. So, guys, if I haven't mentioned it enough, Chris E., it is 6:30 p.m. on Monday here in Southern California. If I haven't mentioned it enough, guys, RSES, Refrigeration Service Engineers Society. I'm very involved in my local chapter. There's a lot of great information and great resources you guys can get. So I suggest you guys look up RSES. You can just Google search or type into your search bar rses.org. We have 2 very active chapters here in Southern California. We have the Long Beach chapter and we have the Arrowhead chapter, which is the chapter I'm part of. And it's in San Bernardino Valley College. We meet the second Tuesday of every month. You do not have to be a member to come to the RSCS classes. You can just come and show up. If you become a member, that's great, but you can keep coming to the classes for the rest of your life for free. We give food, and then we have great training classes. This month, it's the second Tuesday, so it's not this Tuesday, but it's not tomorrow, but it's the next Tuesday. We're gonna have Tom Mitchell, who's our local Parker Sporlin rep, and he's going to be talking about headmasters and low ambient controls. for refrigeration systems. So kind of like my headmaster explanations, but he's going to give an even better one. So it's a totally free class. We got plenty of room. If anybody's local to me, email me and I'll give you more information. Lots of great information. So look up your local RSCS, guys. So, all right. No, Joe Mama, I do not do hot side work. Just going to keep going through here. Prime time. Yeah, it's pretty creepy working in the morgues. I've got some cool pictures. No dead bodies. I never did that. Just pictures of standing inside the 4-passenger morgue coolers and different. I did. You know what was really interesting though? One time, and this was really cool. You guys may not like this, but one time I needed to work on the 4-passenger. This was a separate time. And they had to send orderlies down because it was full of bodies. So they had to get rid of 4 bodies. And there wasn't enough orderlies because of like a lunch break or something like that. So I got to help the dude pull the bodies out of the cooler. And we got to use this really cool, if you guys, any of you guys do hospital work, they have this really cool crane mechanism. And it basically just picks up the whole body in a little kind of like a metal tray or whatever, and you get to lift them onto carts. That was really cool, getting to help them do that. And then one time when the chain thing wasn't working, I had to help him pick up the body. It was in a bag, and you just had to pick up the body. And then there was one person in the middle and one person on each side, and we had to move it into the cart. Yeah, I'm pretty creepy when it comes to that kind of stuff. It was kind of fun. Okay. Ooh, prime time. That is an interesting one, bro. Ulysses, Rita too. Yeah, Rita is the ammonia one, right? Yeah, Rita is a very similar organization to RSCS. We have a local chapter here too. So keep going. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. It's Baharat Bir Rama. You said you live in Riverside? Right on, dude. You need my email address. It's in the bottom of any one of my videos in the show notes, but it's really simple. HVACR videos@gmail.com. Easy enough. Send me an email. Andrew Elis, you're asking me what I would say to new techs coming out of school. Just be humble, be patient, listen to the people training you. I hate to say this, but if you can get a job with someone, try to find a company that's not going to throw you out there in 2 weeks, especially if you have no experience. Try to find a company that's going to let you shadow a technician for a couple months before they throw you to the wolves. Okay. Even though you're excited and you want to work on systems and you want the challenge, you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to break something. You're going to cause a problem. You need proper time with another technician to learn how to do things and how to do them right. So try to get a job with someone that's not going to throw you out there in 2 weeks. Okay. If that's any advice I can give you. So. Yeah, I like watching your videos, Ulysses. It's very interesting. You know, I thought that was really interesting when you made the jump to the ammonia company too. So that's a trip to see people working on that stuff and how big everything is. It's really cool. But I like, you know, when I've seen you showed videos of giant iced up walk-in evaporators and it's like just hot gas defrost. That's so much easier than us having to use a water hose to melt everything. And that's so awesome. Okay, guys. I'm going to call this because it's been an hour and a half and I got to go eat dinner. So, all right, guys, I really appreciate you guys coming on here. We'll see you guys hopefully next Monday, kind of cover the topics, and we will see you guys later. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end this. All right, bye.